Hey people, welcome back to the channel. This is a story in which Naruto is Madara's and Hashirama's grandson and is very OP and smart. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy the video. Leave a comment if you want to suggest a fanfic for me to read. Check the description for credits and support the creator of the story. So let's begin. Chapter 17. Enter the pervert. Naruto left the main arena and found his team waiting for him. Everything alright? Hanada asked. Yeah, the old man just told me my godfather was in town. I didn't even know I had one, Naruto replied chuckling. Godfather? Who is he? Kurenai asked. Jiraiya of the Sannin, Naruto said and laughed at their faces. I know, I had the same reaction when Gigi told me. How are we doing this, sensei? Naruto asked. Well, I can't train you at the same time, otherwise it would unfair as you will probably face each other in the finals, Kurenai said. You can give your full time to Hinata-chan. I'll pester my godfather for some training. Naruto said. Okay, Kurenai replied. See you later at home, Heim, Naruto said. He kissed her cheek and left. Konoha's hot springs. Naruto walked through Konoha heading towards an objective. Meet his godfather at the hot springs. Konoha's hot springs were relatively small when compared to other exotic destinations, but it was enough for a village like Konoha. Naruto calmly walked through the village. He was still tired from opening all the gates and got berated by Kurama, who had to heal him. No pain, no gain, right? Naruto quickly arrived at his destination and found it surprisingly calm on the outside. Normally in a warm day like this one should find the hot springs with more guests. In the end it was better this way. Naruto entered the hot springs and made his way towards the reception desk. Sitting in the chair behind the desk was woman around 40 years old. She had neck-length black hair and brown eyes. Good afternoon, I would like to know if there's someone called Jiraiya using the hot springs. Naruto asked. Not that I'm aware of, dear, she replied, and Naruto raised an eyebrow at her kind tone. There is a couple of kunoichis but the male section is completely empty, she finished, she explained. Naruto sighed and walked out. When he came outside he noticed that Ebisu was there. Peeping on women again, closet pervert. Naruto asked, making Ebisu jump. Such rude comment. I'm a gentleman, Ebisu explained. Sure. That's why you are blushing and have a small trickle of blood on your nose, Naruto said, pointing at him. Nonsense. Ebisu said, waving him off. Shouldn't you be training? I heard you will be facing Uchiha Sasuke. He's a prodigy, you know, Ebisu said. Yeah, Sasuke is great, I know. Once I drive his ass to the ground in front of everyone, no one will say that again, Naruto smirking. You really think you can defeat an Uchiha? Nonetheless, the rookie of the year, Ebisu asked. Even a genin can kill a cage, Naruto replied, much to the surprise of Ebisu. Besides, instead of peeking, shouldn't you be training Konohamaru? Naruto asked. Ebisu thought for a moment and came with the perfect excuse for being there. I was testing the hot water to see if it was good so that Konohamaru could train chakra control, Ebisu stated, smugly rubbing the bridge of his nose. Does he think he fools anyone? Naruto thought. Naruto was about to reply when they heard giggling coming from the hot springs roof. Both scanned the area and found a man with a small telescope peeping on the women that were taking a bath. I will not tolerate such behavior in my presence, Ebisu yelled and dashed to the man. Disc. Ruining my research, the man thought as he erupted in a poof of smoke and revealed a toad. The toad quickly sent his tongue and wrapped it around Ebisu, slamming him in the ground and knowing him out cold. Toads. Naruto thought as he watched the man. He was a tall man with waist-length, spiky white hair tied back into a ponytail, with two shoulder-length bangs that framed both sides of his face. He also had red lines that ran down from his eyes and wore a horned forehead protector with the kanji for oil. He also had a noticeable wart on the left side of his nose. He wore a green short shirt, kimono and matching pants, under which he wore mesh armor that showed out of the sleeves and legs of his outfit. His outfit was completed with hand guards, a simple black belt, traditional Japanese wooden sandals, a red haori with two simple yellow circles on each side, and a scroll on his back. He also had a tattoo in his left palm which resembles one that Gamma has in his as well. Are you Jiraiya? Naruto asked as he faced the man. Jiraiya looked at the young blonde, asking who he was. He suddenly started dancing and saying, I may look like another Sannin, but there is no place you can hide from me. From the north, east, west and south, the women kneel before me. I'm the gallant Jiraiya, Jiraiya said as he stopped dancing to see Naruto staring at him. Why is everyone in the village an idiot? The old man is a pervert, Kakashi is always late, my grandmother is gambler and now my godfather is an idiot and a pervert, Naruto thought and sighed and wondered why his father picked him of all people. Now that I think about it, I wonder who my godmother is, Naruto mused in thought. Are you really my godfather? Naruto asked, not really wanting to know the truth. Godfather? Enna Naruto? Jiraiya asked the blonde kid. Now that he looked at him he really looked like Minato. He had grown well since the last time he saw him, which was around 4 years old. Hi, Naruto replied. You've grown, Jiraiya said as he approached him and kneeled to his level. Man, you must be a lady killer. I think I just found my next source of inspiration, Jiraiya stated laughing and patting his back. I wonder why my father chose you, Naruto replied as his eye twitched. Why, you know who your father is? Jiraiya asked with his eyes widened. Yeah, I've known since I was 5. Since you don't know, I guess you haven't been in the village since then, Naruto said and the toad sage nodded. If you are here now, how about you help me train for the Chunin exams? Naruto asked and Jiraiya thought for a moment before he started to giggle. I will train you under one condition, Jiraiya said. Naruto knew he would most likely regret this but asked, what condition? I want you to get me some mature fruit, Jiraiya said giggling perversely while making gestures with his arms to form the figure of an elegant woman. Naruto face palmed before a grin came to his lips. I have something better for you, Naruto said smirking, to which Jiraiya raised an eyebrow. He activated his Sharingan displaying his full power to Jiraiya. Before Jiraiya could even say anything, Naruto locked eyes with him and said, Megan, harem viewing technique, and Jiraiya was dragged into some hot springs that kinda looked like Konoha's but they weren't. Jiraiya-kun, a blonde girl said as she was approaching Jiraiya who was already submersed in the water. The girl had light blonde hair and brown eyes with a purple diamond-shaped mark on her forehead. She has a slender frame but what really stood out were her DD-cup breasts. Tsunade Haim, I knew you loved me. Come here, Jiraiya said as he nearly passed out from blood loss. Did he say Tsunade? Oh hell no, Naruto thought before he abruptly ended the technique. Jiraiya pouted. You stay away from Ba-chan, you pervert, Naruto yelled pointing at him. Ba-chan. And Sharingan. You have lot to explain, Jiraiya said in a serious tone. Fine, but you can't tell anyone yet. What do you want to know first? Naruto asked. How do you have the Sharingan? Jiraiya asked. My father never told you but my grandfather was Uchiha, Madara, Naruto said and smirked at his face. Jiraiya was moping with floor with his jaw. Madara. It can't be, Jiraiya said stuttering and allowing his brain to process the information. From what my father told me, Madara Jiji didn't die in his fight with Hashirama Jiji. Years later my father was born and when my Madara Jiji's wife died he left my father in the village, Naruto explained and Jiraiya nodded dumbly. What do you mean from what your father told you? Jiraiya asked curiously. I don't really know how he did it but when I awakened my Sharingan at 5 years old he appeared in my mindscape and explained everything, Naruto explained. It certainly is possible that Brat was always a genius, Jiraiya thought as he processed the information. I wonder how you never found out, Naruto said and snapped Jiraiya from his thoughts getting a confused face from him. What I mean is that, for example, the Rasengan he created was derived from the tailed beast ball. He saw it with his Sharingan. He couldn't copy it but he could see how it worked and after a bit of effort he created this, Naruto said and extended his hand showing his perfect Rasengan. You can do the Rasengan. Who taught it to you? Jiraiya asked. It wasn't every day you saw a 14-year-old pull an A-rank jutsu. No one. I read my father's scroll and trained. But I prefer the Reikiri or the Chidori for battles, I only use the Rasengan when I need to destroy something, Naruto said grinning. Our Reikiri? Jiraiya asked and his face paled when he saw Naruto's hands sparkle in electricity. What kind of monster are you? Jiraiya asked. A fox, Naruto replied laughing his ass off when Jiraiya's jaw dropped. I think you can't surprise anymore. Now tell what that was about Tsunade being your grandmother, Jiraiya said. Exactly that, she was my mother's mother. My mother was Uzumaki Kushina, right? Naruto asked and Jiraiya nodded. My mother's real name was Senju Kushina and she was the daughter of Senju Tsunade, Naruto explained. I knew Tsunade had a daughter but I heard she died. I never realized she was Kushina. Jiraiya thought out loud. That makes you member of Senju clan and also the Uchiha clan, Jiraiya said. Pretty much, Naruto said. Do you know where Tsunade is? I promised the old man that I would bring her back after all she still has me for family, Naruto concluded. Good luck with that, she lost everything and left the village for good. I've tried to talk to her but it's no good. I guess maybe you can. After the Chunin exams we'll go look for her, Jiraiya said. Any more surprises you have? He asked. Nope, I don't think I have anything more, Naruto replied. So will you train me Baka Arrow Sennin? Naruto asked. Jiraiya twitched at his nickname. Don't call me that Baka. Fine, I'll teach you a couple of things. Let's go to another spot, he replied. With Naruto and Jiraiya. Okay, I'll teach this killer technique. Jiraiya said and slammed his palm on the ground and erupted in smoke, revealing a toad with large scroll in his tongue. Summoning contract. I already have one, Naruto said and Jiraiya's eye twitched. Which one do you have? Jiraiya asked. Foxes, Naruto replied and got a confused face from Jiraiya. There is no fox contract, Jiraiya stated with his arms crossed. Naruto bit his thumb and flashed through hand seals and slammed his hand on the ground. When the smoke cleared, Kinto appeared. This is Kinto, a tracking fox, Naruto fox, and Kinto gave Jiraiya his fox grin. Where did you get it? Jiraiya asked. Kyuubi gave it to me, Naruto said and Jiraiya was godsmacked. You already talked to him? Jiraiya asked and Naruto nodded. Just be careful. Foxes are known to be cunning, Jiraiya said. Naruto nodded. If he knew Kurama's cage was open he would freak, Naruto thought, chuckling. So anything else you can teach me? Naruto asked. Fine, let's start with this, Jiraiya said. The next couples of jutsus are of my own creation. Use your Sharingan, it's easier for to memorize the seals, Jiraiya said and Naruto activated his eyes. Ninpu, Hari Jizu, Needle Guardian, Jiraiya said and immediately his hair grew out and formed a shell around his body protecting him. Your turn, he said. That's cool. I wonder what mine will look like since I'm blonde, Naruto said and performed the same as Jiraiya. After the third try Naruto could perform this jutsu effortlessly and could rely on it for combat. Good. Remember this jutsu only protects from B ranks and below, Jiraiya explained and Naruto nodded. Also, if you intend to rely on this jutsu for defense you should let your hair grow a bit like mine so it would be quicker to use, Jiraiya explained. Now, I want to check if your Rasengan is up to the standards. Clash it with mine, Jiraiya said and Naruto raised an eyebrow. I want to see if the compression, rotation and general power is good enough, Jiraiya explained and Naruto nodded and both jumped back a few meters facing each other. Both dashed forward with their palms facing one another and yelled, Rasengan, at the same time. Both spheres clashed against one another, both fighting for supremacy. The confrontation continued for a few seconds until both spheres exploded and sent both Jiraiya and Naruto flying on opposite directions. They quickly regained their sense and landed on the ground without much trouble. Your Rasengan is good, Jiraiya said. Oh, by the way, who are you facing in the finals? He asked. I'm facing the last Uchiha, Naruto said chuckling. He'll be in one hell of ride when he finds out he isn't the last Uchiha. Jiraiya said laughing. Arrow Sennin, Naruto called out and his sensei's eye twitched. You trained my father right? He asked and Jiraiya nodded before he continued. Do you know how he trained the Hirishin? He asked. What do you mean? Jiraiya asked until a realization hit him. Don't tell me you can use it as well. He asked. Yes, I finished my version of the Shiki formula a couple months ago but it's hard for me to do multiple jumps in quick succession. I tend to crash into something, Naruto explained. You said you finished your version of the Shiki formula. Jiraiya stated with his hand on his chin. How good are you with seals? He asked. Seal Master level 10 inches, Naruto stated and Jiraiya crossed his arms and pouted, muttering something in genius blondes. I know your father used to train by placing Hirishin seals on multiple places, making it kinda like a circuit. I believe he also trained his own agility and flexibility as well. He had the same problem as you when he first began, Jiraiya explained. Thanks, I'll do that, Naruto said. Arrow Sennin, I've been wondering, do you know who my godmother is? He asked, and Jiraiya raised an eyebrow. Godmother. I believe your mother chose Hyuga Hana. After all, Hana and Hiashi were your parents' best friends, Jiraiya explained while reminiscing about a few fun memories. Hanada-chan's mother. Who would have known? Naruto said. What make it so surprising? Jiraiya asked. Hanada is my girlfriend, Naruto stated, and that sent Jiraiya into a fit of perverted giggles, making Naruto's eye twitch and wonder if it was wise to tell him that. I knew you were a heartthrob. You are going to make me richer. Just like your parents, Jiraiya said. What do you mean? Naruto asked, confused, but when it came to his godfather he already expected anything. I'm the author of these amazing books, Jiraiya said, and took an already too familiar orange book from his clothes. One of these books is based on your parents, Jiraiya said, giggling like a fangirl with a trickle of blood on his nose. You spied on my parents? Naruto asked, but it was more a statement. Jiraiya nodded, quite proud of his accomplishments. If you do that to me and Hinata, I'll shove a raikiri up your ass, Naruto said, and Jiraiya shivered at the thought. Calm down, it was only a joke. Or not, Jiraiya said, laughing his ass off at his expression. Are you really a Sannin? Naruto asked, getting more and more dubious of his supposed toad sage of a godfather. Just forget it. Let's continue the training, Jiraiya said, and thought for a moment. Have you tried to use the Kyuubi's power? He asked. I already can the Kyuubi's full power, Naruto said, much to the shock of Jiraiya. What do you mean full power? Jiraiya asked. When I met my father at 5 years old, he opened the Kyuubi's cage so I can access all of his chakra, Naruto explained. You can control him, Jiraiya said, astonished. There were only a few people in history that could control the power of a Biju. They were Yagura the Sanbi Jinchuriki and Killer Bee the Hachibi Jinchuriki. That's the point. You don't control them, you work with them, Naruto explained. Are you telling me that you are friends? He asked. Pretty much, and I'm looking for a way to set him free. He doesn't deserve to be locked up and used as a weapon, Naruto said. You don't seem crazy, so if you are trying to set him free and Minato opened the cage, I assume it wasn't his fault that Kyuubi attacked 14 years ago, Jiraiya said. Exactly, when I was being born someone attacked my mother and removed the Kyuubi from her. Then he used the Sharingan to control him and attacked the village, Naruto explained. But only Madara managed to control him, Jiraiya said. I know that from the history books, however my father knew it wasn't Madara. After all, my father would recognize his father's chakra signature, Naruto said. That makes more sense. Your father was a seal master, there was no way the seal would break with him present, Jiraiya stated. Should I tell him about the Akatsuki? He seems much more mature than children of his age and he already is strong, Jiraiya thought. I wasn't planning on telling you this, but I see that you are mature enough to understand, Jiraiya said, a very serious tone. What is it now? Naruto asked. There is a group of S-ranked criminals called Akatsuki and they are after the Biju, Jiraiya said. Why can't my life be simple? Naruto said as he sat on the ground. My life since birth has been an S-rank mission. I'm hated by almost everyone and now I'll be chased by cage-level ninjas, he said, sighing. You will have it rough, but you have people that care about you. You have me, the Hokage, your girlfriend, and I bet you have more friends, Jiraiya said, and Naruto slowly nodded. Cling to those that care about you and ignore the rest, he concluded. I guess, Naruto said. What's your dream? Jiraiya asked. To become Hokage, Naruto said with a small smile. The same dream as both his parents. I'll do my best to guide you there, Jiraiya thought. Then don't give up. Fight for what you want, Jiraiya said. I never give up and I never surrender, for that's my ninja way, Naruto said with renewed vigor as he jumped to his feet. Jiraiya smiled. Naruto remembered him so much of Minato and Kushina it was scary. He had Minato's intellect with Kushina's personality. Let's go, I'll treat you to some dinner, Jiraiya said. Yes, ramen, here we go, Naruto said, and Jiraiya froze. No, not ramen, Jiraiya thought while he cried anime tears in his mind. Chapter 18. Calm before the storm. 1 week had passed since the end of the second phase of the Chunin exams and everyone was busy training or gathering information on the adversaries. Naruto was training with his godfather Jiraiya. The man was a pervert, but Naruto had to admit the man was strong and keen. Naruto didn't have much to prepare against his opponent Sasuke. He went to the academy with him and like most Uchihas Sasuke favored fire jutsus and relied on his Sharingan. Hanada was training with Kurenai. Naruto didn't know much of what she was doing and for good reason. After all, she will most likely end up facing him in the finals, so she should have a few surprises in store for her blonde. If you looked carefully, you would notice that both Naruto and Hanada were facing clan members, so to speak. Naruto was facing Sasuke and both were Sharingan wielders, and Hanada was facing her cousin Neji and both were Byakugan users. Naruto remembered from the preliminaries all the details of the fights. A perk of the Sharingan is that it grants the user photographic memory. That's the reason why the Sharingan is able to copy jutsus. Neji and Hanada were mainly taijutsu users, with Hanada being a very good Suiten user. Fu is a bug and Suiten user but also the Nanabi Jinchuriki. Yugito was a fire user and very flexible at taijutsu and also the Nibi Jinchuriki. Tamari was a long-range wind user, so her taijutsu should be low. Shikamaru the shadow user and, like Tamari, was long-range type, so his taijutsu should be his weak point. Kankuro was unknown since he didn't fight. And finally there is Gaara, the sand user and the Ikibi Jinchuriki. Naruto and Hanada. Naruto and Hanada were lying on the couch with Hanada wrapped in Naruto's arms with her back to his chest. They were relaxing after a long day of training. How did training go? Naruto asked. He asked as he caressed her hair gently. Good. I asked Asuma-sensei for some training on daggers and trench knives taijutsu, Hanada replied. Daggers, they suit you, beautiful and deadly, Naruto said. She turned around to face him and lightly kissed him and placed her head on his chest. Flattery will get you nowhere, she said, and he chuckled. Oh come you now, it's true. You are beautiful, he said, and she lightly blushed. By the way, I need some pointers on lightning manipulation, she said. Did you do the leaf exercise by making it crumble? Naruto asked and she nodded. Now you need to be able to channel big amounts of Raiden chakra. You can do the same with couple of rocks. Since it's harder to channel chakra through them, you need to increase the output amount until the rocks breaks, he explained, and she nodded. And how did your training with the pervert go? Hanada asked and he laughed. Naruto told her about his godfather and how he was the writer of the Ika Ika that Kakashi likes so much. As well as it can when you have an idiot of a godfather who is constantly distracted with his research, Naruto said, sighing. He taught me a few Kaiden jutsus, it's the only nature we share. Naruto explained. Hanada snuggled deeper into Naruto's chest. She was always amazed at the warmth he provided and she always felt safe in his presence. They rested for a few minutes until Naruto remembered something he talked about with Jiraiya. Hey Haim? Naruto asked and she hummed in response. Did you know that your mother was my godmother? He asked. Really? Hanada asked as she raised her head and locked eyes with him. According to Ero Sennin, your parents were my parents' best friends. Go figure, he said, chuckling. I wonder what my father ever saw in Hiashi, Naruto mused. You know, I think my father was never that bad. Hanada said softly, making Naruto raise an eyebrow. I was 3 years old but I seem to remember him being kind to me. After my mother died he turned cold and the elders didn't help. Then I was kidnapped and the result of my abduction forced Neji's father to be killed and delivered to Kumo as payment. I think he blames me for that. If I had been stronger I wouldn't have been kidnapped. She explained. It was my fault. If I had been stronger, Hanada said, tearing up. Naruto lifted her up and cleaned her tears with his hands. He hugged her and she snuggled into his chest. It wasn't your fault. You were 6 years old. No one could have expected you to defend yourself against a Jonin, Naruto explained, easing her worries. But you managed to kill him, she replied in a weak voice threatening to break. That was luck, pure and simple. I had my Sharingan and Kurama. Without both of those I would have been killed instantly. I think he didn't kill me because he wanted my bloodline too, Naruto whispered to her and she slowly nodded. He continued hugging her for a few minutes and he felt her tension slowly easy up. Hanada meant the world to him. People like Naruto, Jinchurikis, no matter where they live they grow in a world of pain, of suffering and hate. Living in an environment like this is never good, much less when you are a child growing up. To people like Naruto that are rarely showed any kindness or love, it makes them very protective of that person since they gave them something they never had. This is the case of Naruto. Hanada was the first person to truly love him deeply and unconditionally, so he is very protective of her and would anything to keep her happy and safe. Feeling better? Naruto asked while he cleaned her dried tears. She nodded and snuggled closer to him. She always found comfort and safety in him. Suddenly there was a poof of smoke in the middle of the room where they were. After the smoke cleared, it revealed to be a fox. Hey there, Kyofu, Naruto said. Flashback, Forest of Death, Team 8 just entered the gates of the Forest of Death getting ready to ace the exam. Guys, wait up, I want to do something, Naruto said and flashed through hand seals. Summoning jutsu, Naruto said and Kyofu appeared. What do you need? Kyofu asked. I need you to spy on Kabuto, something about him isn't right. His chakra levels are close to Jonin and yet he flunked 6 times. Here, Naruto said and showed him a chakra card he secretly stole from Kabuto's deck. Smell it and you will be able to find him, Naruto said. I have it. I'll be going, Kyofu said and Naruto nodded. End flashback. So what did you find out? Naruto asked. That Kabuto guy is working with Orochimaru. I found them talking in the Forest of Death, Kyofu said. I told you he smelled of snakes, Kurama yelled and Naruto mentally yelled. Figures, Kurama said he smelled like snakes. Naruto said sighing. He would inform the Hokage later. Anything else? He asked. Yes, I also heard Kabuto talking the Sand Jonin about some invasion during the finals, Kyofu said and Naruto nodded. A few seconds later Naruto shot out of the couch and yelled, what? Keep it down, Kyofu said while nursing his sensitive ears. Are you sure you heard right? Naruto asked very seriously. Yeah, I'm sure, Kyofu said. What time is it? Naruto asked in a worry. It's 7 p.m. Why? Hanada asked confused. The old man should still be in his office. We have to warn him, Naruto said and Hanada nodded. They both picked up their jackets and Kyofu jumped in Naruto's shoulder as they left the apartment and headed towards the Hokage's tower. Hokage's tower. The Hokage was in his office doing what he does best, paperwork. After Naruto told him the cage Bushin trick the old man's life improved very much. Now he could take pleasure in what he liked to do, which was drinking tea, smoking his pipe, reading his Ika and walking through the village. Suddenly the door was busted open so fast that even the hidden Anbu jumped in front of the Hokage to protect him from the threat. For Kami's sake, stand down, it's only Naruto-kun. The Hokage said and the Anbu retreated with shame. They jumped into action without accessing the threat. Naruto, is there a reason to why you entered my office like that? The Hokage asked. Actually there is. The Sand is going to invade during the finals, Naruto quickly said. What? The Hokage asked thinking he misheard Naruto. I said that the Sand Village will invade ours during the Chunin exams finals, Naruto said in a calmer tone. What makes you think that? The Hokage asked with his full attention towards Naruto. This is Kyofu, Naruto said pointing towards the fox in his shoulders, a spy fox. During the second round I summoned him to spy on Yakushi Kabuto because he had Jonin-level chakra reserves and yet claimed to have failed the exam 6 times. Kyofu found him talking to Orochimaru and yesterday found him talking to the Sand Jonin regarding the invasion that they are planning, Naruto explained and Kyofu nodded. Are you sure, Kyofu? The Hokage asked in a serious tone. Yes, Hokage-sama, the fox replied. Inu, the Hokage said and in front of him appeared an Anbu with the dog mask. Summon Shikaku and Jiraiya, the Hokage said. Hi, the Anbu said and vanished. Now that you know, I'll be going, old man, Naruto said and waved him off. No. Naruto, you and Hanada stay, we may need to know anything else that Kyofu knows and you deserve to hear this since you discovered it, the Hokage said and they both nodded. Not even 15 minutes later everyone was assembled in the Hokage's office. Jiraiya, Shikaku, Naruto and also Hanada. Welcome and sorry for calling you this quickly but the situation may be dire, the Hokage started. Naruto claims that the Sand Village will be invading during the exams finals, the Hokage said and everyone stared eyed-opened at Naruto who was feeling a bit insecure. That's a bold claim, Naruto-san, even more since the Sand Village is our ally. What is your proof? Shikaku asked and Naruto explained his doubt of Kabuto and his talk with Orochimaru and Baki the Sand Jonin. Actually is plausible, Jiraiya started. According to my spy network, the Wind Daimyo has been giving more missions to our country which will without doubt cripple the Sand Village. And if they are desperate enough they might try an invasion, Jiraiya concluded. What's the background on Kabuto? Jiraiya asked. He's the adopted son of our chief medic. He was found in an empty battleground a few years ago and the chief medic adopted him, the Hokage said. Should I capture him for interrogation? Jiraiya asked. No, if he's found missing they might invade straight away without giving us time to prepare, the Hokage explained and noticed that Naruto wanted to say something but he found himself a little insecure. After all, this was almost a war meeting. Anything you want to say, Naruto-kun? The Hokage asked and he nodded before beginning. Remember when I brought Rokusho Aoi? Naruto asked and the Hokage nodded. Well, before I trapped him in the scroll I interrogated him and he said he belonged to the Sound Village and his cage was Orochimaru. So isn't it possible that the Sound and Sand Village formed an alliance to attack us? Naruto asked, dropping the idea out loud. It's true. I've heard of a new village formed a few months ago and besides you had Sound Genin competing, Jiraiya explained. Also, it's very strange to bring the Ikibi Jinchuriki to participate in a Chunin exams when he's clearly mentally unstable unless you were intending to release Shukaku in the middle of the village, Naruto said. Naruto is right. I've heard rumors of the Sand Brat. He's as unstable as it gets. It wouldn't need much for him to crack, Jiraiya said. So everyone agrees they will most likely invade. The Hokage asked and everyone nodded. Well then let's plan for it. I'll recall immediately most of our shinobi that are on missions. The Hokage said. What about our evacuation routes and shelters? The Hokage asked. They are always prepared but we will stock some supplies just to make sure. Also we can't evacuate earlier otherwise they might suspect. Our best choice is a surprise counterattack once they start the invasion, Shikaku explained. They will focus on the most important objectives like the academy, hospital, IT department and the Anbu station. Shikaku continued but was interrupted by Naruto. I have a suggestion, Naruto started. I found a couple of barrier seals in my house that might serve our purpose. They can create a barrier dome around a building protecting it from damage. Also people inside can leave freely however for someone to enter, someone inside must open the barrier, Naruto explained. Barrier seals? Jiraiya asked. Yes, they belong to the Uzumaki clan. I've studied them and a Chunin can power the shield for a day. Their strength is directly related to the chakra that is powering them so a Chunin can create a barrier that will hold anything below S-rank techniques, Naruto explained and everyone had their jaw on the ground. The Whirlpool Village was the home of the Uzumaki clan, the most renowned Fuinjutsu user in the world. It took the combined effort of 3 villages to bring a single clan. Looks like there is more than meets the eye with Naruto here. Troublesome blondes, Shikaku said. Very well. Jiraiya, I want you and Naruto to prepare the seals around our major buildings during these weeks. Be discreet, the Hokage explained and both nodded. Now that the evacuation plans are set, what about the Shukaku? The Hokage explained. I can take care of him, Naruto said and everyone turned to stare at him. Come again? The Hokage asked. During the finals we will face in combat. I'll defeat Sasuke, no doubt about it. Gaara will definitely win against his brother. During the second round we will face each other and I can seal Shukaku tight enough so he won't be a problem, Naruto explained. That is a very serious claim you are making, Naruto. Are you sure you can do it? The Hokage asked. He had no doubt that Naruto was strong and skilled, but to take on a Biju at a different matter. Absolutely, Naruto said and stared at everyone in the room with his M's glowing in its full power and gave shivers to everyone in the room. They could feel the power behind those eyes, the true power of the Sharingan, the power of Uchiha Madara. Troublesome blondes, Shukaku muttered. He would have asked but it would too troublesome to know. Since when do you have a Mangekyo? Jiraiya asked, completely shocked with his godchild. He knew very well the powers behind eyes like those. I have it since I became Genin but I'll tell you later, Naruto said. That is a very high risk you are taking, the Hokage said and thought for a moment. I'll trust you but I will have Jiraiya on standby if necessary, the Hokage explained and Naruto nodded. Don't worry, old man. Have I ever let you down? Naruto asked. No, but don't forget this is a Biju, the Hokage said. So. Mine is 8 more tails, Naruto said smirking. Very well, the early arrangements are prepared. Summon the rest of the clan heads to inform them and be discreet always. The Hokage said and Naruto and Hanada left the room. It was an interesting night. Kumogakure, Raikage's office ## The Raikage was in his office trying his best against the number one cage enemy, paperwork. He is a tall dark-skinned man with a large muscular build, with his white hair combed back, a small mustache and beard. His face is very distinguished with pronounced cheekbones and tear troughs under his eyes, and a prominent crease across his forehead. He has pointed canines and his top lip also has a darker hue than the bottom one. The Raikage was called A and he was the son of the third Raikage who was demoted after the Hyuga affair. Curse you father for leaving this paperwork nightmare for me, a Kirsten thought as he signed another mission report when suddenly there was a knock on the door. Enter, the Raikage said. The door opened and a woman entered his office. Mabui was a dark-skinned young woman with green eyes. She wore very formal attire consisting of a long-sleeved, high-collared dress shirt and skirt, along with a pair of long earrings and sandals. She wore her light gray hair pulled back into a bun with two bangs that fall on either side of her face. Mabui was the Raikage's assistant in dealing with paperwork. Raikage-sama, it appears that Yugito-san has made the finals during Konoha's Chunin exams, Mabui explained. Excellent. Please send a letter informing the Hokage that I will attend the finals, the Raikage said. Yes Raikage-sama, Mabui replied. Darui, see, the Raikage called out and in front of him dropped two shinobis. C is a young man with short, blonde hair and dark eyes. He wears a sleeveless black shirt with a one strap over one shoulder white flak jacket, forehead protector, characteristic black, elbow-length arm guards, and the red and white Kumogakure shin guards along with a pair of sandal. Darui is a fairly tall, dark-skinned man with a slightly bulbous nose, a lazy look in his eyes and shaggy, white hair which covers his left eye. He wears a high-collared, sleeveless uniform with loose-fitting pants, bandages on his wrists and the one strap over one shoulder flak jacket of a Kumogakure shinobi. Darui also has stylized characters for water and lightning tattooed on his right and left shoulders respectively, denoting his chakra's nature affinities, water release and lightning release, as well as the fact that he has a Kekkei Genkei, the storm release. The tattoo on his left arm also signifies that he has inherited the third Raikage's black lightning. These two shinobis were the Raikage's main bodyguards. We leave for the Leaf Village at once, the Raikage said and jumped through the window breaking the glass during the process. Another window, Mabui sighed and walked out. Let's go Darui, said C as he prepared to jump through the broken window. This is so dull. I'll take the door and catch up to you, Darui said and walked out. Konoha, next day Jiraiya was walking through the village heading towards his intending destination. If someone watched him they would see Jiraiya walking calmly, however inside his head Jiraiya was taking every precaution to make sure he wasn't followed. Why was he taking precaution, you might ask? The answer is rather simple, the destination was none other than the Namikaze compound. He agreed to meet Naruto there and prepare the barrier seal to place around some buildings. After all, no one has used the Namikaze compound since the Yondaime had died 14 years ago. Defeating the Kyuubi and seeing even Jiraiya at the entrance of the compound would raise far too many questions. Jiraiya arrived at the gates at the compound and rang the bell. Naruto showed a few minutes later and unlocked the gate and added his chakra signature to the seals protecting the compound. Jiraiya entered and when he spotted Naruto he looked at him and shivered. What's wrong? Naruto asked, clearly confused to why would Jiraiya shiver like that when he saw him. Nothing really. Can you do me favor and activate your Sharingan? Jiraiya said as he stared intently at Naruto. Naruto was confused by his statement but shrugged it off. He activated his Sharingan and noticed as Jiraiya shivered once more. What's wrong with you? Naruto asked. You remind me too much of Madara with your hair like that, and when you activated your Sharingan it became even worse. I remembered when I saw him for the first time. I was only 5 years old. Jiraiya explained and Naruto rose an eyebrow. Naruto's hairs had drastically changed. His hair was still spiky but now was to waist length with shoulder length bangs framing the sides of his face, covering most of his right eye. Basically his hair was like Madara's. He only needed hair black and be wearing Senju armor and he would like Madara himself minus the whiskers. I found a jutsu that lengthened my hair. You said I should grow it out to use those jutsus you taught me. Besides Hanada-chan likes it better this way and I kinda like it also, Naruto said grinning and activated his M's making poor Jiraiya feel a shiver running through his spine once again. Come inside and let's get the seals ready. Naruto said and both walked inside. Jiraiya felt nostalgic as he remembered being inside with Minato. He was walking with Naruto when he suddenly remembered one particular scene when his living room. Flashback, it's an amazing book, Minato said as he finished reading the first book his sensei Jiraiya released. The tale of the utterly gutsy shinobi. That's why I want to name our son Naruto. I want him to become a great and brave shinobi like your main character, Minato said. Are you serious? That name came to me while I was eating ramen, Jiraiya replied. Naruto. It's a beautiful name, Kushina said as she came from the kitchen to join them in the living room. End flashback, what are you thinking about? Naruto asked as he narrowed his eyes in suspicion. Nothing, just remembering a few memories from this place, Jiraiya said as he sighed. Naruto nodded and proceeded to guide Jiraiya towards his library. The library at the Namikaze house was located in the basement and was protected by multi-layered seals to prevent any unauthorized person access. Naruto placed his hand in the seal. The seal seemed to recognize his chakra signature and blood and automatically slightly glowed before the door opened. These are the seals, Naruto picked them up and showed them to Jiraiya. He placed them on the table and started analyzing them. These are some high-quality seals. As expected from the Uzumaki clan, Jiraiya said after a few minutes. Kage Bushin no Jutsu, Naruto said and appeared 100 clones. I want each one of you to replicate that barrier seal, Naruto ordered and every single clone picked a small piece of paper and started writing the seal. Not even 5 minutes have passed and Naruto already possessed 100 copies of the barrier seal. That's some manufacturing speed, Jiraiya said and Naruto chuckled. After all, once Naruto learned sealing he never once again needed to buy explosive tags or sealing scrolls since he could easily do them. Let's go Arrow Sennin, Naruto said. Jiraiya's eye twitched. Stop calling me that, Jiraiya yelled. Naruto and Jiraiya shunshined towards the academy and arrived at their front gates. Naruto immediately picked 4 seals and placed one in each wall. They remained until Naruto channeled a bit of chakra and they disappeared into the wall. They proceeded to apply these seals in all major locations around Konoha. The academy, hospital, IT department, prison, Anbu department and decided to place them around the shelters as well. It's done, Naruto said after placing the last of the seals around the shelters which the civilian will be lead to once the invasion begins. I'll talk to the sensei about the arrangements to activate the barriers, Jiraiya said and left to the Hokage's office. Naruto looked at the sky and saw the sun to check the time. It was around 3 p.m. so it was still early. I might as well go visit him, Naruto thought as he activated the shunshin. Konoha's hospital Naruto arrived the hospital entrance. He never really liked hospitals, the feeling of death he got from it was made him shiver. He entered through the main doors and calmly made his way towards the woman that was standing behind the desk. Good afternoon. Which room is Rock Lee in? Naruto politely asked. The woman raised her head to look at the person that was standing in front of her. The moment her eyes locked with him, Naruto could see the disgusted look in her face. You aren't allowed to visit him. Now leave, the woman sneered at Naruto. Naruto was getting tired of this. The treatment he received. The glares and names he simply discarded them but not allowing to do something that he had every right to do wasn't going to roll with him anymore. Naruto flared a bit of the Kyuubi's chakra, enough to change his eyes and affect his voice. Care to say that again? Naruto asked as his voice took a deeper tone. He watched the woman winced at the tone and watched her look at him and quickly shift her eyes away. Sorry about that sir. Rock Lee is in room 201 inches she quickly said trying to get him to leave as it was getting hard to breathe and stand for that fact. Room 201 Naruto quickly made his way towards room 201 to visit Lee. Even though it was a fight during a tournament he still felt a little upset for causing him that much damage and pain. He walked to the room and saw him the bed. Sitting in a chair besides him was Tenten. Hey Lee, Naruto said as he walked through the door. Both Tenten and Lee turned to face him and smiled. Yosh, my eternal rival came to pay me a visit. I promise next time I won't lose, Lee yelled making Tenten bonk in the head at all this yelling. I see you are feeling better, that's good, Naruto replied. He's feeling better alright. Before I came here I found him on the ground doing push-ups with his working arm, Tenten said sighing and Naruto laughed at his enthusiasm. You need to rest Lee otherwise you are going to miss me kicking butt at the finals, Naruto said grinning and Tenten simply face-palmed. To someone so strong he could still act like a kid. I will do my best to recover in time. If I can't, I shall do 1,000 laps around Konoha. Lee yelled yet again, and Tenten just decided to shrug it off. Why can't I have normal person on my team? She said, sighing. By the way, I like your new hairstyle. It suits you, Tenten said. Thanks, I like it too, Naruto replied, rubbing the back of his head. It's good you are recovering, Lee. I will see you in the finals, Naruto said and left the room and went to train. He still had about 3 weeks before the finals started. Chapter 19 Let the games begin. Konohagakure, also known as the Hidden Village among the Leaves, was a shinobi village among many others spread through the elemental nations. Normally one wouldn't find enemy shinobi walking around the village without a care in the world, but today was a very special day. Today was the Chunin exams finals. Today the competitors from various countries would face against each other in mortal combat to prove their worth and try to gain a promotion to Chunin. The sun was slowly rising on the horizon and a warm breeze was felt flowing through the village. It was still early, but the village was already booming with movement, stores were already open and many were seen walking through the streets. After all, the Chunin exams were a very important event anywhere. The early stages weren't anything special, but the finals is another matter completely different. During the finals, many nobles and the daimyo himself would watch the games. They served as an alternative to war and to prove the worth of the shinobi belonging to certain villages. What no one expected, at least from the civilian side, was that war was much closer than they thought. The sun was coming up, slowly making his up to the sky. A beam of light managed to get through the window and wake up our favorite blonde by hitting straight in the eyes. The sun, millions of kilometers away and yet deadly accuracy to blind Naruto. Naruto grunted as he tried to shift his eyes away from the sun. He looked down and saw that his angel was still deep asleep. Awake up, Hanada-chan, Naruto said in his sleepy voice, slowly shaking her awake. Morning, she said and gave him a quick kiss. Naruto made a cage bushin to go prepare breakfast. Come on, we have to get up, Naruto said and she pouted, mumbling 5 more minutes. What to do? Naruto thought, and suddenly a light bulb flashed in his head, nearly blinding Kurama. Get up, Hanada-chan, you have your cousin's ass to kick, he tried to say with a straight face. Hearing that, Hanada perked up and immediately got up. Let's go then, she replied and he chuckled. Then went to take a quick bath separately to freshen up and to truly awake, since Naruto tumbled his way towards the bathroom, bumping into a few things. They had a heavily caloric breakfast since they knew that there would be plenty of action today. After all, shinobi can eat pretty much what they want and still look good due to all the train and work they do. After breakfast they began preparing their weapons since they both knew that there was going to be an invasion sometime during the finals. They walked to the middle of the room until Naruto bit his thumb and sprayed blood across the wall. The reaction was instantaneous as the wall glowed for a moment until it seemed to disappear and show another room. In fact, Naruto drew a blood seal on the wall that created space rift between his normal house and the Namikaze compound, since he couldn't live there full-time for now. The seal was based on the Hirishin and opened a portal, so to speak, that allowed anyone to cross and literally walk up to the compound. Of course, the wall was protected by the blood seal and only Naruto and Hanada could activate it since Naruto added her chakra signature to the seal. Naruto changed his outfit slightly. Since he knew that the sand was going to invade, he decided to use proper clothes. He kept his traditional orange pants, but he was wearing a sleeveless black shirt with mesh armor under it. He also had a gray chest-plated armor similar to those worn by the Anbu and arms guards with storage seals along the wrists. In his wristband there were his special Hirishin Kunai, standard shuriken, Fuma shurikens and his personal favorites for crippling strikes, Senbon. What many people don't realize is that Senbon are deadlier than shuriken. It's extremely difficult to kill someone with shuriken unless it hits a critical area like the neck or the head, otherwise it won't pierce enough to kill the target. However, with Senbon one can hit one of many pressure points with them that can stun the enemy, put him to sleep and even kill them. Of course, every weapons has its disadvantages and Senbon are extremely difficult to learn how to use and even more to actually hit the enemy where it was intended. Hanada-chan, where are the poisons? Naruto asked and Hanada replied saying that they were on bottom cabinet in the second scroll. Hanada was very proficient in making poisons. She wasn't a very good medical shinobi and let's be honest, she sucked at antidotes because she never had any training outside of reading, but for poisons, let's just say she was a natural. And poor Naruto was her guinea pig. Since he couldn't die due to any poison that he might get injected because of Kurama, Hanada usually tested them on him. She would occasionally throw a senbon towards an unsuspecting Naruto and watch the results. Naruto knew that his shy Hanada must have a sadistic side to her. Naruto opened the cabinet and unsealed the contents of the scroll to show 3 small vials with different colors and labels. The first vial was white and was paralyzing poison. This particular poison will shut down the user's nervous system from the neck down, effectively paralyzing him. The second vial was yellow and was sleeping poison, and like the name says, it renders the user unconscious. The last and final vial was black and was killing poison. Once infected, it would spread extremely quickly and kill the user in a matter of seconds or minutes depending where the senbon hit the target. Naruto dipped his senbon in these multiple poisons and sealed them in different seals so he could separate them. It wouldn't be much good if Naruto killed the person he was trying to capture. Speaking of weapons, Naruto offered his sword, the Raijin no Ken, to Hanada so she could use it in conjunction with her water attacks, similar to how the Nadaime Hokage did, but she refused. Hanada preferred using her daggers she learned how to use during this month. Her daggers offered more fluidity in her taijutsu style and she could channel wind or lightning chakra through them. In the end, it looked like the Raijin no Ken was going to become what it was before it was stolen, a family heirloom, until anyone decided to pick up the sword. Concerning Hanada's daggers, they were somewhat special. Even thought they had a few missions. Both of them didn't have that much money to buy worthy daggers, so Naruto took upon himself and forged them to her. He bought chakra metal, which is cheaper than buying already made weapons. Check profile for picture of daggers. He really outdid himself with them. The daggers were made of the best chakra metal and allowed Hanada to channel her elemental chakra through them to increase the piercing power. Their design was amazing. They truly were beautiful and deadly, just like Naruto described Hanada. Naruto also printed a couple of seals on them to increase their resistance and durability. He also included a summoning seal that allowed Hanada to summon her daggers if she ever lost or threw them back to her hands. Hanada was preparing her weapons and seals when she heard clang. She rushed to Naruto to see what happened and saw him picking up a weapon he apparently dropped on the floor. She looked at the weapon and her eyes widened. "You are taking that?" she asked, not believing her eyes as she looked at the weapon Naruto was picking up and preparing to seal in his storage seal in his body. Kurama had told them the story of that weapon and a few like those. Apparently they were created by the Raikudo Sennin himself and were many times more powerful than any other weapon. To anyone not related to the sage himself, these weapons had massive chakra usage, and so, only a pure Uchiha or a Senju would be able to use those weapons properly. "I'm up against a Biju, give me a break, I'm pulling all the stops against him," Naruto pointed out. "So am I," Hanada folded her arms and replied. "Ah?" Naruto asked, not understanding what she meant. "You don't expect me to lose against Neji, right?" she asked. "Of course not," Naruto replied. "During the second round I'll be facing either Fu or Yugito," she stated. "Yes, but they aren't crazy," Naruto said, waving his hand trying to prove his point. "Let's hurry this up or we might be late," Naruto concluded and sealed his favorite weapon inside his seal. He wondered why his father never used it, maybe it wasn't his style. They quickly finished packing everything they needed. Naruto placed his hand on her shoulder and both of them flashed to the Chunin exams. This month, after Naruto had uncovered the invasion, he tried his best to spread his Hirishin seals through the whole village. Now he could be virtually everywhere in the village. Konoha Stadium. They arrived just outside of the Konoha Stadium and quickly made their way inside. The stadium was packed full. Among all of the audience there were daimyos, important businessmen and shinobi from other villages who just came to watch. After all, the Chunin exams is where the best genins are. The cage box was located above the audience and they had a particular vantage point to watch the matches. They were the judges and so they needed to evaluate properly the contestants. There were 2 cages currently sitting in the cage box. The Hokage was the first and had 2 bodyguards. The first was Namiyashi Rado. His most distinct feature is probably the wheel-like scar on his face, running across the bridge of his nose and down across the left side of his face. He has brown spiky hair, dark eyes and wears the standard attire of the Konoha shinobi, complete with a forehead protector and the standard flak jacket. The other bodyguard was the self-inducted super pervert, the gallant Jiraiya. In the third chair was A, the Yondaime Reikage and his bodyguards, Darui and C. Seems like Uchiha Sasuke is missing, A commented. Yugito was the strongest genin they had in Kumo and he was expecting she could put all of these to shame, primarily the Uchiha. I heard he was training with his sensei Hitaki Kakashi, so maybe he picked up his bad habit, the Sandaime said, chuckling and snorted. The Hokage and Reikage were talking when they noticed the Kazekage arriving. The Kazekage was known for using his gold dust similar to how Gaara manages to use his sand. Greetings Kazekage-sama. I'm glad you made it. I hope you aren't tired, the Sandaime said. Not at all Hokage-sama. It was good they were in the leaf this year. You aren't the young man you once were for long travels, the Kazekage said. Don't treat me like an old man. I intend to remain the Hokage for another 5 years, the Hokage said, making a narrow his eyes. Seems like you missing the last Uchiha, Kazekage said. Like I told Reikage-sama. His sensei is Hitaki Kakashi and he's notorious for being late. The Hokage said, and the Kazekage nodded and took his seat. He sat in the second chair, in the middle of the Hokage and Reikage. Now, shall we begin? The Hokage asked and they both nodded. The Hokage got up and went to the edge of the balcony. He used a voice amplification jutsu and said, Welcome ladies and gentlemen to this year's Chunin exams finals. This year, we have many talented genins from Konoha, Kumo, Suna and Taki. Now without further delays let's begin the matches, the Hokage concluded and the crowd cheered. With crowd they can't start the matches without Sasuke-kun, Sakura yelled. Chill out Sakura. He still has time before his match begins, Kiba replied and she glared at him. Did Gaara kill the Uchiha? I told him to lay low, Baki thought looking at Gaara who looked surprisingly calm. Quiet down, it's about to begin, Ino said and they looked at the arena and noticed Hayate was about to speak. He's alive in the arena in the arena Hayate was explaining the rules at the participants and they were pretty much the same as during the preliminaries. Let's begin, Hayate said but got interrupted by Hanada. Are we starting without Sasuke? She asked. He will have until his match to show up otherwise he will be disqualified, Hayate explained. Any more questions? Hayate asked and nobody said anything. Hyuga Neji and Hyuga Hanada stay. The rest of you go to the waiting area, Hayate said and everyone started to leave. They all left but Naruto didn't leave without saying goodbye and kissing her cheek much to her embarrassment. With crowd the rest of the genins all made their way to the middle of the crowd and joined with their respective senseis and teammates. Hey Haku, Zabuza, Naruto said waving at them. It's a shame you didn't enter in the Chunin exams Haku, Naruto said. Yes, my team wasn't ready yet. Maybe next time, Haku replied. She was about to say something else when Zabuza spoke before her. Hey brat, Zabuza started. You better win this, I've got money riding on you, he said. Are you serious? Naruto asked. Of course, after everything I saw you do, if you lose I'll have Haku freeze your balls, Zabuza said and Naruto chuckled weakly while involuntarily bringing his hand to his manhood. I like the new hairstyle Naruto, Haku said. She had to admit he looked good. He wasn't wearing any sleeves so she could see his muscles. They weren't large or bulky but they were of someone who trained hard and his hairstyle was quite unique and looked good on him. Thanks, he replied and gave her a thumbs up. Look closely Hanabi, there is no one who received the Hyuga blood like Neji, Hiashi said. Is he really that strong? Hanabi asked. She was the second daughter of Hiashi and the current heir to the Hyuga clan. He's very talented, nothing like your weakling of a sister, Hiashi said. You are in for a very rude wake-up call Hiashi. You are about to see the real Hanada, Naruto thought as he overheard Hiashi speaking with Hanabi. Arena you should give up cousin, fate already declared me the winner, Neji stated in his smug smile. Hanada turned to Hayate and said, your name is Fate. I thought it was Hayate, she said and everyone started laughing. Neji even glared at Hayate. What? Hayate asked. It was funny, he said. You are a weakling cousin, everyone knows that, Neji said and Hanada just shook her head in disappointment. She figures since she got kicked out Neji would at least sympathize a little bit with her. Fighters ready. Hayate called out and they both nodded. Hajime, he said and jumped back. You can't evade fate cousin. During the preliminaries you resorted to use ninjutsu. That only proved you aren't meant to be a Hyuga, he said. Then I shall defeat you using our taijutsu style, Hanada said as she took the standard Juken stance, knees bent with left leg slightly forward. Her right arm extended with the palm facing Neji and her right arm coiled near her waist. Neji smirked and didn't even activated the Byakugan or took any stance. He simple ran forward and closed the distance in no time. He went for the traditional Juken strike to the chest. Hanada waited for it to get close and faster than lightning she deflected the strike. She crouched down and swept his legs. Flowing with the momentum she completed her twist and gave him a strike to his chest and sent him tumbling to the ground. You should take this serious Neji, Hanada said as she activated her Byakugan without seals. Neji spat a bit of blood coming from his lips and removed the dirt and dust of his clothes as he got up. He decided to show her how it was done and activated his Byakugan and got into his stance. With crowd looks like they are getting serious, Naruto said. Yes, that was nothing but a little skirmish, Asuma said. Asuma, Kurenai said getting his attention, you remember our bet right? She asked. Yeah I know but I'm confident Shikamaru will be promoted, Asuma said trying convince himself. Arena Neji quickly dashed towards Hanada and threw a few strikes. Hanada dodged them all as if she was dancing. She didn't even need to block his attacks, she simply shifted her weight and went with the flow. Damn it, why can't I hit her? Neji asked to himself getting frustrated and he was using his best moves and she dodged them all as if they were nothing. Now it was time to Hanada to make her move. She tried a quick Juken strike to his shoulder but Neji blocked it. Neji quickly found himself in the defensive as Hanada was pushing him back and back. Each strike he blocked was a close call and if it hit him it was game over. She seemed to only be targeting his most important chakra points. Neji decided to gain some space and backflipped but didn't expect Hanada to dash after him so fast. She went a Juken strike to his left shoulder. I can't let her hit me or she will disable my left arm, Neji thought. Hanada watched him smirk and wondered what was so funny until she noticed he was starting to spin. She quickly realized what he going to do and jumped back to avoid his attack. Kaden, Neji yelled as he spinned in a blue dome of chakra. With crowd that's. She stuttered as he watched the prodigy of the branch family pull the best defensive move of the main house. Kaden was the Hyuga's pride and joy, it was their absolute defense, or so they thought. Unbelievable, a Hyuga elder thought as he watched Neji pull the Kaden. To-san, isn't that? Hanabi asked but never got to finish. Kaden. The main house absolute defense. To think he progressed so far without anyone to train him. He really is a prodigy, she stated. Arena Neji finished his Kaden and smirked at Hanada. Looks like it's you who is trying to avoid his fate. Kaden is a main house technique, Hanada said. A failure like you would never understand, Neji said and dashed forward and quickly closed the distance between him and Hanada. You are in my field of divination, Neji said and got into his stance. Hake Rokujuyansho, 64 palms of the hand Neji called out and was about to start his best offensive attack when he saw Hanada start to spin. His eyes widened at what was about to happen but it was too late. Kaden, Hanada yelled and spinned creating her own blue dome of chakra and Neji was thrown out very fast and impacted with the wall. With crowd that's my girl, Naruto said as he cheered for Hanada. The rest of the genin and most of the jonin were watching as the disavowed heiress kicked the Hyuga's prodigy ass. She seethed his teeth as he watched Hanada flawlessly perform the Kaden. He already knew she could use it but to that perfection he never figured. T2-san. Nei-san just used the Kaden too. Hanabi said as she watched the usual stoic Hiashi show his face of anger. Hiashi, the elder said, care to explain how your daughter can use the Kaden? He asked. How should I know? He asked and elder went back to his brooding like a certain Uchiha we know. Arena still believe I'm a failure. She asked watching her cousin rise from the ground removing a few pieces of rocks from him. She noticed that his breathing was starting to get labored. After all the Kaden did sent him to the wall quite hard. I admit you're better than I expected. In the end it won't matter. I didn't think you could pull the Kaden as well. Neji replied as he watched her. During this whole match he was yet to land a single strike to her and yet she already delivered 2 strong strikes to him. He needed to end this fast otherwise he would lose and that he couldn't allow. Neji ran as fast as he could towards Hanada. Neji approached her and threw dust he had in his hand towards her eyes. Hanada didn't expect such a low trick and could only close her eyes. Neji smirked and took this chance to end it. Hake Rokujuyansho, 64 palms of the hand, Neji said as he got into his stance. 2 palms, Neji said and closed 2 chakra points in Hanada's network. 4 palms, 8 palms, 16 palms, 32 palms, 64 palms, Neji said, finishing his strikes as Hanada was pushed back but stood on her feet. In the stands, Hiashi smirked in satisfaction as he watched her failure of a daughter put in her place. In the end, you were nothing than a failure. Neji said, taking heavy breaths. He was about to talk to the proctor to give him the match when Hanada exploded in a puff of smoke. Neji's eye widened when he saw Hanada disappearing in smoke. Kage Bushin? Neji asked in thought. He noticed Hanada quickly running behind him and turned just him time to receive her full attack. Hake Sanbyakurokuju Ashiki, 8 trigrams 361 palms, Hanada called out and began her onslaught. 2 palms, 4 palms, 8 palms, 16 palms, 32 palms, 64 palms, 128 palms, 256 palms, 361 palms, Hanada finished. In less than 5 seconds she closed all the 361 chakra points in Neji's body. Neji hit the ground with a thump, completely knocked out, and he was going to stay like that for a few hours. Winner by knockout Hyuga Hanada, Hayate called out. # with crowd #. Naruto whistled as he watched Hanada perform his new attack. She looked like she was dancing. It was beautiful. In less than 5 seconds she completely shut down Neji's entire chakra network. Hiashi's eyes were bulging out of his sockets as he watched her failure of a daughter defeat their Hyuga prodigy. Neji was supposed to be one of the best Juken users to ever grace the clan, and Hanada defeated him without even breaking a sweat. The battle was completely one-sided. Neji didn't even hit her once. Hiashi was broken out of his thoughts when the elders spoke to him. Hiashi, we must have the technique. Many tried to close the whole chakra system, but they couldn't do it in a viable way. It's instrumental we get the technique, the elder spoke. And how do you expect me to her to give it to us? Hiashi asked the wise elders. We don't care. Offer her the chance to rejoin the clan, give her anything. She may look different, but she'll jump the first chance she gets of rejoining our clan, the elder spoke, smirking. Congratulations Hanada-chan, Naruto said as he hugged her and spinned her around as she giggled. Thank you Whiskers-kun, she replied and laughed like crazy at his face. Here they come, Naruto said, and Hanada got a confused face. Your father and the elders, he explained, and she turned around to see them approaching her. Anything you need, father, Hanada said in a very sweet voice that gave shivers to the poor man and made Naruto chuckle. Yes Hanada. We would like to offer you a chance to rejoin the clan, Hiashi spoke in his stoic voice. Why would I do that? She asked. I'm happy with Naruto and there is nothing you can offer me, she replied. We can offer you a painless lifestyle befitting of a Hyuga. Surely you can't like your life with that thing, Hiashi said, and Hanada narrowed her eyes in the painless part. Call him a think again and I'll kill you, Hanada said, and she activated her Byakugan. Never mind. So do you accept? Hiashi asked. How about? No, she replied and laughed. Hiashi was starting to get pissed off, and that is saying much to someone who most of the time is calm and emotionless. There is nothing you can offer me. I'm happy with the life I have. Why would I join a clan of stuck-up pricks? She said, and everyone laughed. Besides, you just want me because I defeated your prodigy, and most likely you want my new technique, Hanada said. Enough of this, an elder yelled and raised his fingers to form half of the tiger seal. Activate, the elder said and smirked. A few seconds passed and Hiashi was looking at the elder and wondering if his old age was acting up. Something wrong? Hanada asked in a very sweet voice. She removed the lavender sash from her forehead, revealed it to be seal-less. The caged bird seal was nowhere to be found. I'm a free bird too, San, Hanada said. The elders, Hiashi and even the Hokage were shocked. They never knew that the caged bird seal was possible of being removed without killing the victim. How is that possible? Hiashi asked. Let's just say that Naruto has a way with seals, Hanada said, and once again laughed at their shocked faces. Not even Jiraiya, who was a seal master himself, knew how to remove the caged bird seal without at least permanently crippling the user. This is an outrage. We can't allow this, Hiashi, an elder yelled. Too bad you can't do anything. Naruto started and gathered their attention. The moment you disavowed Hinata, she became an asset of the village. You no longer have any power over her. And since she is a shinobi and technically an adult, you can't even claim her as your daughter now, Naruto said, chuckling at the anger face of Hiashi and the elders who seemed to be about to kill them both. Hiashi took a step forward but immediately regretted it as he fell to the ground, barely managing to breathe with the heavy killer intent Naruto was releasing. Be careful, Hiashi-sama. Attacking a leaf shinobi is a crime, primarily with so many witnesses, Naruto said in a deeper voice and pointed out to many people around him. Pretty much everyone was shocked that Naruto managed to remove the seal from Hanada. Demon, Hiashi pointed out as he regained his breath and got up. Naruto was prepared to end his life as he broke the third's law, but thankfully the Hokage arrived just in time to prevent anything from happening. Hiashi, are you mental? The Hokage asked. Naruto is right, the moment you rejected your daughter you lost any authority over her. She belongs to the village now and it will stay like that until she chooses otherwise, the Hokage said, and Hiashi scoffed. We shall have words later, Hiashi said in his regained stoic face as he turned around with the elders to their seats. That went well, Naruto said, and Hinata nodded. The Hokage just sighed, that Naruto only gives him headaches. As if the civilian council wasn't enough, no, he had the Hyugas on his ass too. I'm getting too old for this shit, the Hokage thought as he made his back to the cage box. Chapter 20. In between tales, the old Hokage made his way towards the cage box and thought that Naruto, to think he was able to remove the cage bird seal with killing the host. You would be so proud, Minato. He has already surpassed you in seals. Everything alright, Hokage Dono? The Raikage asked. Yes, that Naruto always gives me headaches, the Hokage said, sighing. Now that Hinata revealed that Naruto is able to remove the cage bird seal, the Hyugas will have a field day. Especially the main house, since they treat the branch house like slaves. If the branch house managed to get rid of the seal, they would surely rebel against the main house, and since they outnumber them almost 5-1, it wouldn't be pretty for the main house. In the end, Hinata got off well and only got thrown out of the clan instead of being sent to the branch side of the family. Indeed. To be that skilled with seals at such young age. He really honors the Uzumaki clan, the Raikage said. He will be a major threat in the future if he continues like this. What to do? The Raikage mused in thought. The Kazekage seethed his teeth and cursed the damn blonde in his thought. That brat is getting too dangerous. To think he managed to hold me long enough for the Anbu to arrive, even more is his work with seals. He might be able to remove the curse seal and I can't allow that. I'll make sure he dies today, Orochimaru thought. You didn't even see the tip of the iceberg, Raikage. The Hokage said, making the Raikage narrow his eyes. Yes, I know he's the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki, the Raikage said, much to the shock of the old Hokage. How do you know? The Hokage asked, narrowing his eyes at the Raikage and studying him. You forget I have the Nibi Jinchuriki competing, and my brother, the Hachibi Jinchuriki, is their Jonin sensei. They all met before the beginning of the exams, the Raikage said, chuckling. But I wonder how much control he has over the beast, the Raikage said, eyeing the Hokage. Who knows? I never sensed him training with its chakra, so I wouldn't know. The Hokage replied. He's your Jinchuriki and you don't know? The Raikage asked in disbelief. Like I told you, Naruto is very secretive and special. I know he's been training himself since he was 5 years old, the Hokage said, lightly chuckling. Did you know that when your father arranged the Hyuga kidnapping, Naruto was the one that killed the kidnapper and rescued the heiress? The Hokage said, and chuckled even more when everyone stared at the Hokage thinking he was crazy. You surely must be joking. How can a 6-year-old kill a Jonin? True, he wasn't an elite Jonin, but still, a 6-year-old that didn't even enter the academy. The only thing I can think of was the Kyuubi helping, the Raikage said. I assure you I'm not joking, Raikage Dono. When I arrived at the scene, Naruto was holding Hinata and the kidnapper had a kunai in his chest, the Hokage explained, and the Raikage seethed his teeth. Then the Kyuubi is the only explanation. The Raikage said, crossing his arms. I doubt it, the Hokage said, and everyone focused on him. When I arrived at the scene there wasn't any trace of the Kyuubi's chakra being used. I didn't see the battle, but from what he told me, Naruto tricked him with a clone and finished him when he got the opportunity, the Hokage explained. Looks like you have been hiding a diamond. The Kazekage said, if he was that skilled at such young age, why is he still a genin? The Kazekage asked. You all know how Jinchurikis are treated, right? The Hokage asked, and everyone nodded. Everyone seemed to be interested in the young blonde. He chose to hide his strength. He decided to take the full academy course so he could have time to train himself and be able to protect himself and anyone he cares about, the Hokage finished explaining. Deception. The true shinobi way, the Kazekage said. You know something, Raikage? The Hokage asked, chuckling. What? Raikage asked. Your village tends to create some of our best couples. You kidnapped Uzumaki Kushina and she was rescued by Namikaze Minato and they later became a couple. A few years ago you kidnapped Hanada and Naruto rescued her. Now they are boyfriend and girlfriend and are living together, the Hokage said, laughing. Are you saying you have another Yellow Flash and Red Death in the making? The Raikage asked. The Yondaime Hokage was something of a rival in terms of speed to the Raikage. The Yondaime was the only man to ever dodge a frontal attack from the Raikage while using his famous lightning armor. The Yondaime's wife and Naruto's mother was Uzumaki Kushina. In truth she was Senju Kushina, but no one knew. Also known in the Bingo book as aka No Sheet Red Death due her vibrant blood red hair. She was a very powerful kunoichi and extremely talented in Suidan ninjutsu and kenjutsu. I have faith in them. Every generation is supposed to surpass the previous, the Hokage wisely said. I've been wondering something. Hokage Dono, wasn't Hyuga Hanada supposed to be the heiress? Why did she have the cage bird seal? And why is she living with the blonde brat if she is a Hyuga? The Raikage asked. Simple enough. Hanada's father thought she was weak and disavowed from the clan and placed the seal on her. Then she went to live with Naruto and things went on from there, the Hokage explained. Weak. She just defeat the so-called Hyuga prodigy, the Kazekage said. What can I say? Naruto has a way to encourage people and I bet he has been training with her since she was expelled, the Hokage explained. I look forward to see his match against the last Uchiha, the Raikage said. It will be an interesting match, the Hokage said. I wonder if he will reveal his Sharingan, the Hokage thought. Now let's continue watching the matches. It looks like it's the second match is about to start, the Hokage said, and everyone turned to the arena. With crowd Fu from Taki and Ni Yugito from Kumo please came to the arena to begin your match, Hayate called out from the arena. Good luck Fu, Yugito, Naruto said to both of them as they made their way towards the arena. Who do you think will win? Hanada asked. Naruto brought his right hand to his chin in a thinking pose. I don't really know what they can do so it's hard for me to say, Naruto started. If they use their partners then Fu would win if she has enough control. Otherwise can't really say because I don't know their individual skills, Naruto explained. Hey Kurenai-sensei, you fought with Fu against those Odo Jonin when we went to Taki, right? Hanada asked. Yes, why do you ask? Kurenai asked. She wasn't paying particular attention to their conversation since she was watching both Jinchurikis made their way towards the middle of the arena. We are trying to find out who will win since she will fight me next. What can you tell me about Fu? Hanada asked. Kurenai thought before beginning. Well, for starters she didn't need to use her Biju's chakra. Her taijutsu was nothing special, I'd put her around low chunin level. However her ninjutsu is far better. She was primarily a water user but she had a few secret and bug techniques, Kurenai explained. Hey, Naruto said and got their attention. I remember what Kabuto said about Yugito during the first stage of the Chunin exams. He said she was good at both taijutsu and ninjutsu so I would assume around mid-Chunin level on both, Naruto said. Nothing you can't handle, Naruto said and she nodded and looked to the arena. You sure have a lot of faith in her, Asuma said and he joined the conversation since his curiosity was piqued when they began to talk. Of course I have faith on my girlfriend, Naruto said grinning and Asuma mumbled something about lucky blonde brats. Did you see what she did to Neji? He asked almost rhetorically. Everyone saw Neji getting his ass kicked by the supposed shy former heiress of the Hyuga clan. Yes I saw, good job. It will be good to that arrogant ass, Asuma said chuckling. Though I never expected her to win, he said honestly. Don't you faith in my teachings? Kurenai asked in a dangerous voice. Of course not Kurenai-chan, Asuma quickly replied waving his hands trying to dismiss the situation before she casted a genjutsu on him. Cough. Whipped. Cough. Naruto discreetly said, and Asuma narrowed his eyes at the blonde. What was that, Naruto-kun? Hanada asked in a very sweet voice. Nothing, Hina-chan, Naruto quickly said, and Asuma slightly laughed. Troublesome women, Shikamaru said. Arena #, both contestants ready? Hayate asked. Hi, both replied. Hajime, Hayate said, and jumped out of their way. He knew they were both Jinchurikis and he didn't want to get caught in the middle of them. Shall we keep them out of the fight? Fu asked. Yugito thought for a while. Most of Yugito techniques rely on her using her Biju's chakra. Not that she was weak without her cat, but the fact she trained primarily in using her Biju, if removed, it would cripple her ninjutsu. How about we keep it to 2 tails max? Yugito asked. Sounds good, Fu replied and took a kunai and got in her stance as Yugito pulled her sword from her back. Yugito quickly ran forward and tried a horizontal slash. Fu quickly ducked and rolled to the side. She quickly got up and tried to kick Yugito in the chest. Yugito, however, managed to completely bend the top of her body backwards almost to a 90-degree angle, avoiding the kick as it passed safely above her. With crowd Naruto whistled when he Yugito bend like that. That kind of flexibility isn't possible for humans. Even if she is a shinobi, bending at such an angle should have broken her spine. That's the Nibi's effect. Her hosts have an extremely high flexibility due to the fact Nibi being a cat, Kurama explained to Naruto. How come I have nothing of useful from you? Naruto asked. Ungrateful brat. You have high regeneration and negative emotion sensing ability, Kurama explained. That's good and all, but that isn't particularly effective in combat, Naruto replied. What do you mean isn't useful? Your sensing ability coupled with your Sharingan makes impossible for anyone to hide from you, Kurama explained. For someone who is so smart, he sometimes could still be a knucklehead. Maybe all that pretending during academy days affected him. Never thought of that, Naruto said, and Kurama's sweat dropped. Arena Fu and Yugito exchanged punches, kicks and strikes for a few minutes. Even though the fight came tied, it seemed that Yugito clearly had the advantage in taijutsu. Her flexibility made it very difficult for Fu to hit her, even more since Yugito was using a sword. Kumo Ryu Kangiri Cloud Style. Flame Slice, Yugito said, slashed horizontally towards Fu. Yugito's sword was imbued with fire and as such it created a fire ring around Fu, preventing her from leaving the area. Sweeten. Mizoripa water release. Wild water wave, Fu said, and gathered water in her mouth. She quickly gushed the water out from her mouth and quickly put out the flames. She's a water user. She will have advantage in ninjutsu, but I seem to an edge on taijutsu, Yugito thought as she watched Fu performed a low-level sweetened jutsu to put out the fire. Kaiten. Gukakyu no Jutsu, great fireball technique, Yugito said, and unleashed a hot fireball towards Fu. Fu, noticing it was a fireball and not a fire stream, quickly jumped to the right, dodging the fireball. Yugito quickly appeared next to her and said, Kumo Ryu Omotegiri, Cloud Style, front slice. Yugito made a very fast horizontal slice and Fu's head separated cleanly from her shoulders. Yugito didn't think she would have been defeated this easily, and her suspicions were true when Fu turned into a piece of rock, showing Fu performed a kawarimi. Sweeten. Tepudama, water bullet, Fu said, and shot a couple of compressed water bullets from her mouth. Yugito turned just in time to see Fu perform the jutsu. In a show of speed, Yugito used her sword and sliced through every single bullet, taking no damage from it. Cage box looks like this year's genin are talented. The Hokage commented. Very true. Usually elemental ninjutsu is only trained after becoming a chunin, the Kazekage said. What did you expect from Jinchurikis? The Raikages asked rhetorically before continuing. Even without using their Biju's chakra, they develop high chakra reserves, so they tend to go for ninjutsu very early, the Raikage commented. True, the Hokage replied. By the way, after seeing the Hyuga's match, I firmly recommend Hyuga Hanada for chunin. She remained calm even though her opponent was taunting her, and she displayed a high level of taijutsu, the Hokage explained. Agreed, both the Kazekage and the Raikage said. With the crowd as expected, Yugito is the advantage in taijutsu, but they seem to tie in ninjutsu. If this continues, Yugito will win, Naruto said. I have better taijutsu than Yugito and I mainly used sweetened ninjutsu, so if Yugito wins I have the advantage, Hanada thought. Looks like they are about to take this up a notch, Naruto said, and they turned to face the arena. Hash hash arena hash hash, shall we bring our partners into the battle? Fu asked and Yugito eagerly nodded. She was anxious to show everyone her true power. Bring it on, Yugito replied. Let's go Nibi, Yugito said. Right kitten, Nibi replied. Let's show them Chome, Fu said. Alright, Chome replied, pumping something into the air. Not really sure if it was a wing or an arm. Everyone in the crowd watching in amazement as red chakra seemed to envelop both contestants. The red chakra radiated from both her stomachs and swirled around them before stopping. When it stopped, both of were fully enclosed in a semi-transparent red chakra cloak with two tails swirling in their back. Hash hash with crowd hash hash, what's happening? Sakura asked. She had never seen someone being enveloped in a chakra. In fact, she had never even heard of red chakra for that matter, so what she was seeing was completely new. That is what is called the Jinchuriki cloak. Naruto explained. What? Sakura asked, not really understanding. Do you know what a biju is? Asuma asked. You mean like the kyubi? Sakura asked. Yes. There are 9 biju starting from the ikibi and ending in the kyubi. People that have a biju sealed inside them are called jinchurikis, and when they use their biju power, that's what happens, Asuma explained, pointing towards the arena. Wow, Sakura said, astonished. But, Sakura started and everyone turned to her. I thought that the Yondaime killed the kyubi, but you can't kill a biju, which means that someone in our village is the kyubi inside of him, Sakura said. You are smarter than you look, Naruto said, chuckling. Shut up Naruto baka, Sakura screeched. Asuma-sensei, who is our Jinchuriki? Sakura asked, and Naruto looked at Asuma to see if he going to reveal it to her. Everything about the kyubi is a secret. Only Chunins and above know about him, Asuma explained, and Naruto sighed in relief. He didn't want to have to explain everything to the crazy banshee. Knowing her, she would probably want Naruto to release the kyubi and give it to Sasuke. Some secret, Naruto thought, not realizing he said it out loud. What do you mean Naruto baka? Do you know him? Sakura asked, but it was more a demand. Keep it down Sakura, and yes, I do know who he is, Naruto replied. How can a baka like you know? Sakura smugly asked. Shove a bijudama tailed beast ball up her ass right here, Kurama said, and Naruto chuckled in his mind. Can't do a bijudama in here, but I can do a Rasengan, Naruto replied. Why do you want me to tell you? Naruto asked. I want to know who he is so he can give it to Sasuke-kun, Sakura said, and everyone stared at her. Is she crazy? Asuma asked in thought. I need to talk to Kakashi to see if he sends her to a few sessions with Inoichi, Kurenai thought. That level of obsession is going to be her downfall sometime. Damn, that is some dedicated fangirl, Kurama said. How do you know about fangirls? Naruto asked curiously. Let's just say I was very popular when I was a kid, Kurama said, slightly embarrassed. Don't tell me you were chased by females kitsunes. Naruto asked incredulously. Yeah, Kurama replied, remembering his dark days. Looks like every race has fangirls, Naruto said, laughing. It's not a it, it's a him, Naruto explained. How would you know baka? Sakura screeched once again. Hanada approached her and gave her a Juken strike to her throat, disabling her voice. You are too loud Sakura, Hanada said, and Sakura tried to curse her, but no sound came from her mouth. Even though no one said anything, they were all happy that Sakura was silent for once. That Naruto seems to know a lot about bijus. He said that there were only 5 people that could open the gates, and Hanada said that 3 of them were in the tower's arena. If Fu is a Jinchuriki and can open the gates, it stands to reason that Naruto is the Kyubi's Jinchuriki. That would explain his treatment. Troublesome blondes, Shikamaru thought as he overheard the entire conversation. If you stop screaming, I'll open your tenketsu, Hanada said, and Sakura nodded sadly. Naruto, Sakura said calmly while looking at Hanada. She nodded and Sakura continued. How do you know that the kyubi is a he? She asked. I've read a lot about them. And even though they aren't humans, they aren't things. For instance, Yugito has the nibi sealed inside of her. She's a cat. The biju have their own personality like every other animal out there. Naruto explained, and Sakura nodded. So, Sakura began. Will you tell me who the Jinchuriki is? She asked in a very sweet voice, trying to know who he is. Why do you want to know so badly? Naruto asked. Oh come on Naruto, I want to know too, Ino said. Everyone stared at the blonde wondering if he was going to tell them who he was. The rookies were all oblivious about the Jinchuriki's identity, but among all of them there were a few that knew. The Jonins, of course, Hanada and Shino, and the Sand team. Are you sure you want to tell them? Hanada asked. Yes, I do. They will find out eventually, might as well tell them now and get this over with, Naruto said, and everyone turned to him. Fine, I'll tell who he is. Naruto said, and everyone almost had star in their eyes. First I'll say that he's our classmate from the academy, Naruto said, and everyone was shocked. Naruto chuckled and continued. My name is Uzumaki Naruto, Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Yoko, he said, and an immediate silence followed his proclamation. Yeah right. The dead last has the most powerful Biju sealed inside of him, Kiba said, and everyone snapped from their stupor and laughed. You want me to show you my version 1 cloak? Naruto asked, and they all stopped laughing. Are you serious? Kiba asked. Naruto summoned the Kyuubi's chakra and immediately went to his version cloak with 2 tails as well. His eyes were blood red with black vertical slit, his whiskers were more pronounced and his fangs grew bigger. Around his body the same semi-transparent blood red chakra cloak with 2 tails swirling behind him. Deadly, Naruto replied, but his voice was deeper than his usual due to the Kyuubi's chakra. Believe me now? He asked, and they all nodded, slightly scared of his new voice and appearance. Now that you know, what are you going to do? He asked. Nothing, Kiba said. You don't think I'm a monster? Naruto asked. Naruto didn't really care what they thought. As long he had the people that cared for him, he was happy. Of course not. I know the difference between kunai and the scroll, Kiba said. Thanks, maybe you should tell that to the villagers, Naruto said, sighing as he focused on the fight that was going on the arena. Arena the arena was almost totally destroyed from the battle between 2 Jinchurikis. The arena was filled with water and yet the earth was scorched from Yugito's flames. Both of them were showing symptoms of fatigue. Even though they had plenty of chakra, they didn't the stamina to keep up. Kaiten. Aogukaku no Jutsu, Great Blue Fireball Technique, Yugito called out, sent a huge blue fireball towards Fu. The fireball was empowered by the Nib's chakra, giving a blue color and almost triple the power. Suiten. Daibakufu no Jutsu, Waterfall Vortex, Fu called out and water from the ground rose in front of her and formed a vortex of sorts. The water immediately blasted from the vortex and clashed with the fireball. The clash produced a big steam cloud that covered most of the arena. Yugito took this opportunity and channeled Nibi's chakra to her nails, increasing the length and resistance of them. As the steam cloud dispersed, she quickly dashed towards Fu. Fu didn't expect Yugito to come at her so soon and wasn't prepared for her slash with her fingernails. Fu received the full brunt force of the slash from both hands to her chest and right leg. She jumped back and clutched her chest. Her mesh armor managed to absorb most of the damage, but it still managed to cut her pretty deeply. Fu focused Chomei's chakra in her chest area and the wound immediately started to heal. A few seconds later there wasn't evidence of anything had even happened. Fu used Chomei's chakra and focused to her back. From her back emerged 2 wings and Fu started to lift off from the ground and flew in the air a few meters above the ground. Fu continued to dodge multiple fireballs sent Yugito as she prepared her bugs to attack. Yugito quickly run up the wall in the arena in all fours, much like a cat. Yugito propelled herself from the wall and tackled Fu while in the air. Yugito pinned Fu's legs and arms so she couldn't escape and stood above her as they plummeted towards the earth. Yugito focused chakra to her legs and just as they were about to crash, Yugito jumped up, sending Fu to the ground even harder. Boom! The arena ground shook from the impact and cloud of dust emerged. Yugito's cloak vanished and she was breathing a bit heavily, nothing that a bit of rest wouldn't solve. The dust started to clear to show Fu completely knocked out. Hayate approached Fu and noticing she was unconscious called the medics. Winner by knockout. Ni Yugito, Hayate said, and the crowd erupted in cheers. After all, the civilians can only watch genins fight, otherwise they wouldn't be able to keep up with the battle, and a battle like this is rare. Cage box that's my girl, Raikage said, proud that Yugito had won. Yugito was a orphan since her parents died when the Hachibi was accidentally unleashed, so the Raikage took her in and raised her like his own daughter. They both fought very well and both seemed to have good control over their power. I'd recommend both for Chunin, Kazekage said. Indeed, the Hokage agreed with both cages. Hash hash with crowd hash hash. Congrats Yugito, Naruto said giving her a thumbs up. Thank you. It was a hard fight, Yugito replied. I sensed the Kyuubi's chakra from down there. What were you doing? She asked. Just showing my friends my cloak, Naruto said like it was nothing. It will take a while for them to get used to me being a Jinchuriki, but I think they will warm up to me, he said as he looked at the smiling faces of his friends and surprisingly enough Sakura too. You told them you were a Jinchuriki? She asked, not believing her ears. Of course. I told them during your matches. I explained them your two-tail cloak, Naruto explained. Why do you ask? He asked. Because you know very well how we are treated, and for you to publicly flaunt that you're a Jinchuriki is rather strange, Yugito said. B does the same. But I have people that care about me knowing what I am, their opinion is the only thing that matters to me. The others I just shrug them off, and if they try anything they end up in the hospital with broken bones, Naruto said, and Yugito dumbly nodded. Nara Shikamaru and Sabaku no Tamari, please make your towards the arena, Hayate called out. Cannon style, that lazy ass, Ino said face palming. What did you expect from Shikamaru? Naruto said. I guess, Ino replied. Because it would be too troublesome to explain, Naruto said grinning, and a few snickered. If Sasuke doesn't arrive he's going to be disqualified, Naruto said. I thought I took care Kakashi's bad habits, Naruto said out loud. Hash hash cage box hash hash, that was anticlimactic, the Hokage said, and he watched Shikamaru give up. Yes, but he displayed a very good tactical mind. As expected from Nara, the Raikage thought. The cage remained silent. Do you agree that he should be a Chunin? The Hokage asked, and they both nodded. The Chunin are leaders, and he displayed very good planning and remained calm, even thought he probably knew he wouldn't win, the Raikage said. Uzumaki Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke, please make your way towards the arena, Hayate called out. Looks like the Uchiha is no show, what a shame, the Raikage said. Yes, looks like he will be disqualified, the Hokage said, and getting ready to get up and disqualify him when the cage interrupted him. Please wait, Hokage Dono. I wish to see the Uchiha fight that Uzumaki Naruto. Let's continue with the rest of the matches until he arrives, the cage said. You do realize that if he isn't capable of respecting appointments then he isn't Chunin material, the Hokage said. If I understand correctly, Hatake Kakashi is the knack for arriving hours late to any appointment, and he's an elite Jonin, the cage smugly said. The Hokage knew that the cage had a point and there was nothing he could do to argue. As you wish. But if he isn't here when is his time then he will be disqualified, the Hokage said. Of course, the cage replied. The Hokage turned to his bodyguard and he went to Hayate and explained the situation. As Uchiha Sasuke has yet to show up, we will proceed with the matches, Hayate said. Sabaku no Gaara and Sabaku no Kankuro, please proceed to the arena, Hayate called out. Proctor, I forfeit, Kankuro yelled from the balconies. Okay, winner by forfeit, Sabaku no Gaara, Hayate said. Uzumaki Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke, please make your way to the arena, Hayate called out. That was some time the Uchiha gained, the Raikage said chuckling. Then in the arena the wind started gathering and leaves started spinning. Everyone watched the scene unfold. A few seconds later Uchiha Sasuke appeared with Hatake Kakashi via leaf shunshin. I hope we aren't late, Kakashi said while sheepishly rubbing the back of his head. You arrived just in time, Hayate said. Name? He asked. Sasuke, Uchiha Sasuke, Sasuke replied in his almighty tone. Naruto was leaving the balcony towards the arena when Sakura called out. Naruto, she called, getting his attention. Please don't hurt him too much, she said. Naruto never in a million years expected her to say something like that to him. Don't worry, I won't use the Kyuubi if that's what you're saying. I prefer using my own power, he replied, but the worry face she had didn't change. I won't kill him, relax, he said, and she let out a breath she didn't even know she was holding. Arena I was getting the impression you wouldn't come, Sasuke, Naruto said while approaching the three in the arena. Why wouldn't I come? I'm only fighting you, Sasuke said. I see your attitude hasn't changed, Naruto replied and turned towards Kakashi. I hope you didn't tell him about my bloodline, Naruto said, and Sasuke scowled. Don't worry, the only thing I told him is that he knows your bloodline as well he knows his own, Kakashi said. Ah, the word play, Naruto said, chuckling, and got a confused face from Sasuke. You'll know soon enough, he said, and Kakashi left the arena. Uzumaki Naruto vs Uchiha Sasuke ready. Hayate called out and both nodded. Hajime.